Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. I apologize that Chris Hearn is solo, not because I'm anti-Chris. It's we have growing pains. Chris, Michael moved out, and obviously this is the Michael Gusky Full Employment Act because I have no idea how to log on. So you got me voiceover, and Chris, you got the video. So between the two of us, hopefully we can cover everything.
All right. Sounds good, Bob.
And I do appreciate you stopping by. Number one, a lot of information. Thank you for joining us. Let's go into it. What percentage of entrepreneurs have a disaster plan? What's your guess, Chris?
I'd say 25% or less.
You obviously read the script. Good for you.
No, I didn't. That was just my guess.
23%. That was, I assume Fountainhead has a disaster plan. How do we convince Mom and Pop Joe's Grill that they need a disaster plan?
Well, what do we mean by disaster plan? Do we mean succession plan, or do we mean like the phone line is clipped and it's
we mean like that video that I showed where they go up to their place of business that's under 3 feet of water due to a hurricane in Texas.
Got it. Boy, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're in a particularly vulnerable area, I think you got to think about stuff like that. So, I mean, we have everything in the cloud ourselves.
Right.
We have all the insurances that we need. We have redundancy in our internet connectivity. I mean, we have a succession plan. I mean, there's a lot of different things like that. But you're right. I don't think too many mom and pops probably do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's something that should be discussed. I mean, all banks do it, and something should be discussed. Number two, what percentage of entrepreneurs agree inflation will increase? By the way, the source of this is a Regions Bank survey, just so we know. And the answer is correct. The answer is 80%, which is shocking because I want to know what the other 20% think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Bob. It should be 100% because, let's face it, inflation happens regardless. So, it's just a function of time. And certainly we're in an inflationary period.
We are, and the question is, historically, the way to deal with inflationary pressures is to raise interest rates. The Fed right now doesn't want to do that, but something's going to have to give here pretty quick in terms of whether we're raising rates or we're going to let inflation run amok. The economists all agree inflation bad, so we're going to defeat it with rising interest rates. Chris, I know you're too young for this. Lance and I love to talk about it. When we started our banking careers, prime was 21.5%. I do not wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I remember prime being, I think it was 9.5 or 10.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, and the reason why we bring this up is the federales are very interested in what you're doing with respect to stress tests. And they talk about that, but do not tell the regulators that, hey, we have this all tied to variable rates. Therefore, the bank does not have a risk. That is a fallacy because if you think you're risk-free and all your portfolio is tied to prime, no, you have that underlying asset that may very well fail because they don't understand how to manage in an inflationary environment. So you're not all you do is transferring that risk to the borrower, and you are not out of the woods. So that's another misconception that people can go down that road and make a mistake on it. Number three, what percentage of entrepreneurs are increasing investments in a key business area within the next year? That screams 504, Chris.
Yeah. Again, I hope this is 100%, but we'll see what people say.
%90.
Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And
tough to grow if you're not making investments in key business areas, right?
And as a general rule, the people you're talking to, Chris, when they talk about key investments, historically that has been machinery, walls, paint, some transformers.
Yeah.
Do we want?
Yeah, it's usually IT, machinery, equipment, things of that nature. Yeah.
What about people? Are you seeing a shift in thinking that people are becoming more and more an investment? We always talk about that, but I've always thought maybe that was lip service. Now I think that's becoming more and more true.
I think it is. I mean, one of the interesting, I've seen some statistics about labor shortages and how tough it is for small businesses to even to hire people. And I think that's going to continue for some time, unfortunately. So.
Oh, a nice musical interlude.
It means I haven't shut off my email.
Yeah. Or that's the signal.
No,
Now time to shut up. So 9 out of 10 said they plan on investing. 60% said they want to invest in technology or e-commerce platforms. And over 50% want to invest in marketing and advertising. And I don't see, roughly 2/3 plan to seek additional financing for these investments. I don't see labor as one of those, but I think that's going to become more and more of a key.
Yep.
Other interesting stats from the Regions Bank survey, 23% of owners anticipate expenses increasing for materials. 50% do not feel prepared when it comes to disaster planning, which is, I think that's low. It's 1 out of 2. I think it's a little bit higher than that. And the quality of workforce, access to labor, and inflation are expected to have a significant impact on business success in the next year. Chris, one of the things I'm always concerned about, and I know you dabble in this a little bit, but how does this all affect rural America? My concern with rural America, number one, is there's not a job pool, and number two, they're losing their infrastructure.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're already behind from an infrastructure standpoint because there's just not that much investment in rural America. But part of that is because, there's a bit of a population drain. I mean, it's been heading that way for a couple centuries now, people moving out of rural America into urban and suburban. So, it's sort of tough to justify a huge infrastructure spend when you have a diminished population as opposed to a huge infrastructure spend where there's much more population density, of course. So it's a problem, and I don't quite know how they're going to correct it, or if there is a correction, because I think there's not as many people that want to live an agrarian lifestyle. So.
And there are those who want to, but unfortunately, the number one employer of these of these rural communities tend to be hospitals. Guess what rural hospitals are doing? They're closing. Tends to be prisons.
Yep.
And it was interesting. I was driving through Missouri about a month ago, and there was a campaign ad for the mayor, and it said, "Keep jobs local. Vote so and so for mayor," which I thought was interesting. Planning initiatives to do that. Chris, do you get involved with the California Department of Financial Protection at all? Do you follow that?
Well, we have a lender's license through them, as California is one of the only states in America that even though you only make exclusively commercial loans, you still have to be licensed there. So yes, to some extent, I'm involved with them.
Given your experience, how much to the forefront is California on this than other states? Are they leading it? Are they? Do you have enough of a track record to determine what's happening in that area?
Well, I think Californians think they're leading the nation in everything. So
Enough said.
Especially when it comes to regulatory matters, I think California is trying to stay ahead of the pack. Whether that's good for the consumer or the entrepreneurial community, that's debatable. But they certainly get out ahead of things quite a bit earlier than most states.
Modeled on the Federal Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the department's creation was a key to the Governor Newsom's January 21 budget proposal. And California is figuring out that they can, being the world's 7th largest economy, they're starting to flex their muscles. They started that during the Trump administration and Republican administration. They're backing off a little bit, but if they're certainly willing to go it alone and say, hey, you need to follow us. For those of you, unfortunately, I haven't had this problem, but if you want to move to the great state of California and you have a used car, guess how much you get to spend to bring it up to our standards, at least $2,000. So, wow, there's another hidden tax that welcome to the state.
Do you know, Bob, since you're a resident there, what's the justification for having a state type of CFPB? You have a federal one, and that's relatively new. What's the justification of a state level one?
The answer is I don't know. The answer is I'm guessing. The answer is that they did not feel that during the Trump administration, was going far enough in regulating payday lenders and regulating lenders who were taking advantage of the consumer, and they wanted to flex some more muscle in that. And as California goes, other states follow. New York's following that. What's also fascinating is you see a lot of municipalities adopting that as well. I know in Detroit that if a lender has a lien on a property and it's abandoned, it's the lender's responsibility to go and tear down that property and clean it up. So that you're seeing more and more lender responsibilities being voted on by these entities that makes it for more interesting times. But they're tired of hearing of the users' rates in payday lending. That's where this is all stemming from.
Got it.
Yeah, very good. Let's see, upcoming webinars. Let's see, we have Lance is doing one on tomorrow with respect to loan origination and processing. Please take advantage of that. And Chris, thank you so much for jumping in. I apologize for not being there, but we will work out our kinks. We're talking about disasters that we're working with.
No problem. We hear you from the peanut gallery.
All right. Thanks. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. And thank you for joining us for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Take care, everybody.